Hello, this is Damon with TerrAvion, and we are going to talk about how to make a variable rate application map with our zoning tool, NDVI zoning tool, in our app. And we are going to do that, demo that on a grass seed field in the Pacific Northwest. Of course, this is also applicable to cotton or for any sort of nutrient or chemical application on any sort of crop. We are going to demo it on grass seed because grass seed shows little, sometimes shows little NDVI variation in many cases. And because of that, it can be hard to make these zoning maps. So we're picking the hardest example to do it on, so I can talk you through some of the intricacies on of the tool and how to make that work. So the first thing you want to do is you pick an image, a date that you want to make the map for. And if we look at this again, we're seeing in the natural color imagery here some pretty uniform growth. If I were to turn the vigor map on, the standard vigor, our NDVI product, you can see it's mostly green, right? So not a lot of variation there. That is our standard map. If you were to turn on our dynamic map, you would see a little bit more variation there. And you'll see that here. And when you use the dynamic vigor or the dynamic NDVI map, what happens is this scale down here adjusts to fit just the present range of NDVI values. So what that does, it pulls out more variation, and you can see that here. So you can see here we have our higher vigor zones. We're seeing a little bit of a lower vigor zone here. And those are the zones that we want to single out when we're making our zoning map for a PGR application in grass seed in this example. So we have our image that we're using, and we'll go ahead and we'll open our NDVI zone creation tool right here in the corner. Pull that up, and what you see here is your select parameters menu. You have a bunch of different options here. You can do it off the NDVI. You can also make a thermal. We're going to use the NDVI, of course, here. You can set your number of zones, so how many zones you want, up to 6 from 2. We're going to use 3. I think in most cases for PGR applications, 3 is a good number. If you get up to 4, 5, or 6, the zones are getting smaller, and for most equipment that'll be hard to act on that many zones. So I think 3 zones is a pretty good number for all scenarios. So a couple other things you have down here: your grid size. So this is the size. This zoning map, what it does, it makes grids out of this, and in each grid, it'll either assign it to zone 1, low vigor zone, a middle vigor zone, or a high vigor zone. So it's a grid. So you can select the size of your grid, and the grid size is oftentimes, in almost every case, going to depend on, if you're making some sort of application, the size of your applicator. So for instance, if you have a 60-foot applicator, and that applicator has 2 30-foot booms that can each apply different rates, you can make your grid size 30 feet, because your applicator can apply different rates on 30-foot zones. Another thing you have over here is your minimum region acres. What this does is, when you make a map, sometimes there's a bunch of little island zones that are too small to act on, and they're kind of outliers. So you can filter them out, and we recommend that you start with about at 0.40. So that's 0.40 acres inside. Any zone under 0.40 acres in size will be deleted, will be consumed by a neighboring zone. So 0.4, maybe 0.5 if it's a bigger field. And then over here you have this histogram feature, and this is how you define the range of your zones, right? So as I'm doing this, you'll see anything under 0.517, or let's see here, actually specifically this number will show you that as well. You can see here as I move that number will change. So anything under 0.518 will be in the low vigor zone, and then anything between 0.518 and 0.529 will be in that middle vigor zone, and everything above 0.529 will be in the higher vigor zone. If I click this all button here, it frames this NDVI data for us, so it gives us an idea of what our zones are going to look like. what this is doing is basically painting each one of those 18 centimeter pixels one of these colors. So this is not our zoning map. This kind of just frames it. So and then the next step would be just to, if you think you have the distribution that you're looking for, the next step would be just to click calculate zones and you'll get your zoning map. So what we're going to see here, and the whole point of this video is to show you that the zone creation tool is very intricate, and it's intricate for a reason, that making these zones, there's a little bit of a trial and error because the whole point of this is that you want to get these zones to accurately reflect this very high resolution imagery data back here. So 18 to 22 centimeters per pixel data, it's very high resolution. And it's very valuable. And the whole point of making these maps is is to make it more actionable, but to maintain the value, it has to accurately reflect that data. So you can see here, we have our low vigor zone is red, our middle vigor zone is green, and our high vigor zone is blue. If I turn this on and off right here, you can see indeed, yes, there is a high vigor zone is here. And yes, it does appear that there's a low vigor zone here, but it seems, as I'm looking at this, and for the purpose of making a PGR application, it seems that both the low vigor zone and the high vigor zone are underrepresented, that most of this field is being represented by that blue vigor zone. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. And one thing I want to keep in mind here is that, okay, I'm seeing more of a high vigor zone here. When I turn this blue high vigor zone on and off, it doesn't seem to be representing that. When I turn the red zone on and off, it doesn't seem to be accurately representing, or rather effectively representing the low vigor zone. So what I want to do is I want to increase the range of both the low vigor zone and the high vigor zone while decreasing the range of the middle vigor zone. So I'll go back and I will do just that. So I'll move my high vigor zone up 1. I will move my low vigor zone up 1. I will calculate my zones and I'll see what that looks like. So like, again, it's a little bit of a trial and error, but let's see what we get here. This looks a little bit better. It looks to me like that red zone is very well represented, maybe overly represented, and that high vigor zone is still not represented as much as I'd like it to be. I'm seeing more high vigor in here that I want to include in that zone. So I will go back again and I will make another adjustment and I will increase the size of that high vigor zone. We'll do another calculation and we'll see what this looks like. Okay, now we turn this on and off. All right, so that's starting to look a little bit better. You can see here that blue zone is starting to look a little bit better to me, representing that high vigor zone zones in the NDVI imagery a little bit better. Red seems to be doing the same, and the green zones are a little bit smaller. For me, and I'm not a farmer or an agronomist, but if I'm looking at this and I say, well, you know what, I see, the blue zone's good, but I still want to pick out more of that. So I'm going to go back again and I am going to shift this down 1, shift this up 1, calculate my zones again. Okay, now looks like I have much more high vigor zone representation there, less of a red. I'm still not thrilled with that. I think that there is now not enough red. I'm going to go back again. And I'm going to go back to what I had it set at, but where I felt my high vigor zone was being underrepresented, I have another feature over here, a weight feature. And what this feature does is it makes whatever zone created, so we're looking at our high vigor zone, it makes it a little bit more prominent if I add weight. So I'll add weight to this, and then I'll click calculate my zones. Okay, and now I think I'm seeing something that I like a little bit more. I might even go back and add a little bit more weight to that zone. Okay, so this is looking a little bit better to me. Again, if I turn this off here, my blue seems to be representing my high vigor zones pretty well, and the red is seems to be representing those low vigor zones very well. So I'm happy with this, and I think this will be good. And I think if I'm, in this scenario making a PGR application in this grass seed field, I think it's going to be effective in optimizing my inputs and achieving more uniform growth and a better yield. So the last step here would be to export it. You can make some notes as far as what you plan to do with each of these zones. These are not prescriptions. These are just basic notes. If you go click next, and then you can export, you can attach the NDVI information. I recommend that you do that depending on what program you're using, and then you can just export it. And this will download as a shapefile, and then you can go ahead and import that shapefile into whatever farm management platform precision ag platform that you might be using, or even directly into a controller. So that's all for now. If you have any more questions, you can contact support@TerrAvion.com or go to our website at www.terravion.com. Thanks for watching.